Hey, what's up guys, it's StrategyIsDestiny, and welcome to my Stronghold Warlords guide. This Stronghold Warlords guide is a good beginner's guide because it will teach you the most important things you need to know that go under the main topics of economy, diplomacy, building a castle, and military in Stronghold Warlords. I will be making videos that are more in depth for each topic as well, so please note if you're wondering why this video is missing certain details, then that is the reason why. Also, before we jump into the video, I want to let you guys know that there will be time codes in the description, and also pinned in the comment section, or you can you'll simply see on this speed scrubbing timeline thing when you hover over the actual video. There will be an option to view chapters that you can use as well in order to if there's a specific part of the video that you want to skip to, then you can do one of those three options to access the time codes. Finally, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like it, and if you want to see more Stronghold Warlords guides and gameplay videos from this channel in the future, then simply smash that subscribe button. It is located at the bottom right hand corner over here where my mouse is hovering over, and then click on the bell so you get notified when I post those videos. And if you have any constructive feedback or questions, then leave in the comment section below. Alright, so without that all out of the way, let's jump into the first topic, which is economy. Alright, now the first thing we need to think about for our economy is placing the stockpile, as you can see right now. So now listen up, because this is the most important point for placing the stockpile. You need to make sure that you have as much space as possible around the stockpile, because in order to make sure your economy, because in order to make your economy efficient, you need to be able to place a lot of worker buildings that utilize the stockpile near the stockpile, of course. And if you're not able to do that, then let's just say that your economy is going to suffer as a result. One other important point I want to mention is that you want to have trees, iron deposits, stone deposits, and saltpeter deposits as close to the stockpile overall as possible. Alright, so in this case, let me show you where I would place the stockpile right now in this case, in this map. So in this case, I would place it right over here. Let me just see if this is to my liking. Here, I would place it right here, guys.
Cite your granary, Excellency.
Let me just give you a quick overview of where I placed it overall. It's a pretty good choice, in my opinion. And then let me tell you why I made that choice. Alright. Let me just... okay, so the reason why I wanted to place it here is because it meets the most important point, which is that there's plenty of space around it. Yes, I know that the trees are blocking up potential space for now. As you can see, these trees, for example, are blocking potential space, as well as these trees, for now, because they will eventually be removed by the woodcutters, eventually freeing up all of that potential space. And then now it can actually be used to place the worker buildings down eventually, once the woodcutters clear them. Also, it is quite close to saltpeter deposits and the iron deposits. As you can see over here, it's relatively close. It's not insanely close, but relatively close to both of them. Unfortunately, however, you can see that these stone deposits are quite far away. But hey, it's better to be close to two of them than just one, right? Because if I placed it close to the stone deposit, well, as you could probably tell, it's quite far. It's going to be very far away from both of them overall, relatively speaking. So that's why I picked that. Okay, So now, let us go over the general strategy for placing the granary, because now they want us to site the granary, so let's go over that right now. The first important component is to make sure that there's a lot of space around it. The second important component is that you need to make sure that the only type of land surrounding your granary is land where food or tea can be made. So in other words, make sure that the color of the land surrounding your granary is green. This is because the worker buildings that utilize the granary create food or tea. So make sure you do these two things in order to maximize the efficiency of your granary. Alright, just had to flip my page. Alright, so therefore, for this map, based on the two components we discussed, a good component to place this granary would be here. Let me show you and then I'll explain to you why. Alright, pretty much right here, it's the perfect spot. Well, it's a good spot. And let me now tell you why. Alright, let me pause the game because I don't want it going on right now while I take 2 minutes to explain it. Alright, so alright, also do note that this specific spot on the map isn't the only good spot where you could place your granary. There are probably plenty of other good options for this map. Oh yeah, I actually kind of talked about why I place it here, but it's because it's based on those two important components that we discussed just now. Okay, so let's go through a quick walkthrough of what is in our stockpile. Okay, of course you know that the resources are stored in the stockpile, and also the industry buildings, as you can see them all over here. These industry buildings, over here, all of these industry buildings. Okay, they're the only buildings that utilize the stockpile. They're called industry buildings under the industry buildings tab. Alright, let's go through it all. Okay, so first of all, wood camps produce this resource here, wood camp right over there. Alright, secondly, quarries produce stone. Let me just hover over those two things for you right there. Alright, and of course note that all quarries and mines, you need the ox tethers to support the resources that are generated by them. The limit is 3 per quarry or mine. Oh yeah, let me and then these are the buffalo tethers, ox tethers, same thing. That's what I meant. Alright. Saltpeter over here is produced by saltpeter mines over here. Of course, iron is produced by not quarries, but rather they're called iron mines. So let me yeah, that's what I need to tell you for that. Alright, gunpowder is produced by gunpowder workshops. This is gunpowder, and then this is what a gunpowder workshop looks like. Oh yeah, I can't actually try and place it down. Okay, so, and then silkworm. Oh yeah, but in order, and then even though gunpowder is produced by the gunpowder workshops, of course, in order for the workers at those gunpowder workshops, however, to make the gunpowder, they need the saltpeter first, which of course come from these saltpeter mines, like I said before. These saltpeter mines. Alright. Silkworm farms produce silkworm cocoons. Right here. And then what else? And finally, clothes are produced by clothing workshops. Clothes, these are produced by clothing workshops, of course, but they of course need silk workshops first. They need silk thread first, which are produced by these silk workshops. So the silk workshops convert the silkworm cocoons into silk thread, and then the clothes workshops convert the silk thread into close. Okay, so that is important that you guys understand that. So now we need to go through the granary. Let's go through those items and how they get made in the granary. For the granary, first we have rice. Alright, the rice, and that is produced by rice fields over here. Next we have vegetables produced by vegetable fields. We also have meat produced by pig farms. And then what do we have after that? We finally have tea, which is produced by tea plantations. Sorry, I apologize, that's taking me a while because I kind of have this huge checklist I have to go through. Okay, so, now we go over the most important part of the economy lesson, which is explain this popularity panel right over here. This rectangular box, skinny rectangular box. Alright, so the first part we're going to discuss is taxation. Alright. Oh, wait. Actually, no, I meant to say I need to introduce the popularity panel first. Okay. So let's first talk about the top left-hand corner that shows the picture of a person. Okay. That tells you the number of peasants that can be recruited as a soldier or as a worker currently, and the bar illustrates how fast your peasants are coming in or leaving your castle, depending on your popularity number at the top right-hand corner over here. Okay, and then of course if you unpause the game, you'll see how fast they come in from this green bar, from this bar. And yeah, so yeah, the bar illustrates how fast they're coming in or leaving, depending on that popularity number, like I said. And of course, you obviously would know that if the number is above 0, peasants are coming in. If they leave, if it's below 0, and if they don't come in or leave, then the number over here is going to be exactly 0. So the first part we will discuss is taxation. I already hovered my mouse over it by accident, so let's go through that. You, of course, as the Lord, you have control over whether to tax your peasants or not. You can either ask for no taxes, which is, of course, like this, no taxes, as you can see. You can also increase the taxes, which earns you more money over time, but as you can see, decreases the popularity. Or you can simply bribe your peasants, which causes you to lose more money, but it causes you to actually lose money, but it increases your popularity, as you can see here. Alright. It's important to note that the more peasants you have, the more money you earn from taxes, no matter what overall. So therefore, you should really consider trying to have low taxes at the beginning until you have a high population. And once you have a high population of 100 people, for example, then you can start to really increase those taxes. Now we talk about rice rations. Okay, this is important. I'm not going to go through at this point what happens to popularity when you give them more or less rice, because it's pretty obvious and self-explanatory. But I do need to mention that this important point, that rice is a staple food, as you can see, for your peasants, which means that if they don't get enough rice or don't get any rice at all, then your popularity will be very much affected in a negative way. For example, if you don't give them any rice, your popularity automatically decreases by 30. If you give them quarter rations, then it decreases by 20. Let's now talk about vegetable rations. Alright, obviously if you give the peasants more variety in their diet, then the popularity is positively affected, so therefore the more vegetable rations you give your peasants, the higher of a popularity bonus you get. If you give them no vegetables, since it's not a staple food like rice, then simply your popularity doesn't get positively affected, and it also doesn't get negatively affected either. As you can see, that's why the number here is 0, because it doesn't because if you don't give them anything, they won't complain, they won't be happy that you didn't give them any vegetable rations. It's just a 0. It's just 0. But oh yeah, I can't demonstrate it because I have since it's red, I don't actually have vegetables, but you know what, you get the point. Alright, now for the meat rations. This works the same way as vegetable rations, so there's nothing to talk about for this component. Now let's go over tea rations. This works the same way as vegetable and meat rations in terms of the fact if you don't give them any tea popularity. If you don't give them any tea, popularity doesn't change, just like for the meat rations and the vegetable rations. The only thing I want you to quickly remind you is that in order to make tea, you need tea plantations to do that. These things over here. Alright? And then also another important thing to note, and those buildings use the granary, and when you're ready to start actually serving tea to your peasants, the only way for tea to actually affect your popularity and increase it, you need to first, of course, build a tea house in order to even have a chance at positively affecting your popularity with tea. So make sure you build this when you're ready to start serving the tea to your peasants. Alright, so now let's discuss clothing. Okay, clothing. I already thoroughly discussed how clothes get made in this game, so I will just generally mention that you need the following buildings in order to make clothes. You need silkworm farms, you need silk workshops, and you need clothes workshops. Finally, in terms of how this component works for popularity, it is the same as the vegetable, meat, and tea rations, so I'm not going to go through it again. So next, let's quickly talk about what is at the bottom left-hand corner of this popularity panel. Okay? This is simply a ratio that compares the number of housing used and your housing capacity. It is important to note, as it says here, that if you delete houses, for example, causing you to have less housing available to the housing used, then overcrowding occurs, and your popularity decreases by 30, as you can see here in the description. Now, let's go over this house icon at the bottom right hand corner of the popularity panel. It's called housing. The really important thing that I need to explain is the comfort ratio, which is equal to your total quality or total comfort divided by the total number of workers. Depending on what the ratio is equal to, will have a negative or positive impact on your popularity. And if we look at page 14 of the Stronghold Warlords manual, right over here, page 14, okay, right here, that gives you a detailed breakdown of how the popularity is impacted. And if you want to see the total quality or comfort rating that each type of housing building gives you, then you can either look at this chart right over here, this chart here that I'm highlighting, or you can also see it in game, of course. It also is important to note that each type of housing building provides 8 housing capacity. So as you can see, it tells you the quality, and it tells you that the capacity is 8 for all of them, and it tells you the quality for each one of these as you hover over them. Alright, moving on. Let's now briefly go through spirit, which is represented by this Buddhist icon. For this, if you for this, if you click on the Town Buildings tab, which is this, you can see the different spiritual buildings that you can place. As I'm hovering over all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those buildings right now. The more expensive the spiritual building is, the larger of a radius it covers, which is represented by this yellow circle. As you can see there. I don't know, I did deselect that. Okay, there we go. Alright, so, but yeah, that yellow circle, as you could see there with, yeah. Okay, so, also note that the higher amount of housing buildings and active worker buildings that are within that yellow circle that I just showed you, the more popularity you obtain from this spiritual factor. You can boost it even more by connecting a road from the keep to the temple. The road can be located over here in the tab, in the Town Buildings tab as well. That's where the road is located. But I don't have enough time to visually show you how to do that, so you'll have to wait until my Stronghold Warlords economy guide that specifically focuses just on economy comes out if you want to see that. So it completely focuses on the economy aspect of this game. If you're interested in that topic, be sure to check it out when it is uploaded. Next, we talk about the fear factor at the bottom right hand corner over here, below the spirit icon. So if we look at the fear factor tab, fear factor tab, you can see that there are 2 rows of buildings. The top row is buildings that inspire your peasants, which is what makes a good lord. The bottom row are the ones that terrify them, making you a bad lord. The chart on page 12. Chart on page 12 tells you the advantages and disadvantages of both a good lord and a bad lord. So, yeah. The last important point I want to mention for the economy section, which I will go into more detail in my economy guide, like I said for this game, is how you should be placing your worker buildings in order for your economy to be as efficient as possible. Still paused, right? Okay, it's... Oh, pause it. Oh. I thought it... Okay, whatever. I thought the trees would stop moving if it's paused, but never mind that. Okay, so... is how you should be placing your worker buildings in order for the economy... In order for your economy to be efficient... To be as efficient as possible. First of all, make sure that when you place a worker building, it is close to its corresponding storage building. For example, if the worker building only uses the granary, then place it near the granary. Secondly, you should be placing all your worker buildings and also any other economic buildings that don't require workers, like houses for example, so that they are as close to each other as possible. For example, if you want to build rice fields, you will be placing them like so. So let me demonstrate to you guys what I mean. This is what you would do. I'm just going to put it on slow. Oh, that is strange. Game, hello. Well, that's strange. Dude. Okay then. Sorry guys. I don't know why I didn't. I forgot to unpause the game. Okay, let me demonstrate to you guys how to do it right now. You would simply do like this. Something like this.
Can't place that there, Highness.
Do...
Not enough workers available to run this building.
Just place a few more. Alright, yeah, you get the point. Alright. So yeah, that is how you would want to do it. This tip allows you to maximize the space that you were given, so definitely make sure you use that tip. Okay. Now we'll talk about the topic of diplomacy. So I cannot open the Warlords map in free build mode. So what I'm going to, so what I will instead do, and plus it's kind of better, it's going to be, it's actually like a lot more explanation for you guys if I go to the Warlords manual for this section and just state the important points from it. So it saves you time, and these important points will be ones that you should have knowledge of for this game. So let me open to the specific page 34, if you guys are wondering where I'm going here. Page 34, alright. So in this game, a very important mechanic is the Warlord system, which I will be explaining now. So there's a currency called diplomacy points. Diplomacy points, they're obvious. These are your diplomacy points listed right below this crane icon here, just so you guys are aware. Alright. And what you can use this for is to take control of AI-controlled warlords, give orders to those warlords, or otherwise known as edicts in this game, and upgrade those warlords. You generate a very small amount of diplomacy points every day naturally, so you can increase this by either building diplomacy buildings or by taking control of the pig and or crane warlord. This chart shows you the information of those two types of diplomacy buildings that you can build. So if you want to look at it, you can pause the video, but I'm going to move on. You can also increase the diplomacy points generated by connecting a road between your keep and one of your diplomacy buildings. I'm not going to show you how to do that in this video because it's already getting too long, but you can check that out in my diplomacy guide that I will eventually upload. You can access the Warlords map by clicking on that crane icon. Of course, you can't do it in free build mode right now because there's currently no other Warlords to actually select in this. There's no other Warlords on this map, so that's why I can't actually access the Warlords map when I clicked on that crane icon. So basically, the Warlords map tells you many things like where the Warlords are and who controls them. It also allows you to do things like issue orders to your Warlords and upgrade them. This is simply a chart of the different Warlords. This is a chart, where am I? Okay. This is a chart of the different warlords currently in this game that you can read about by pausing the video. Alright, moving on. This is just, so basically, once you click on the Warlords map, I will now, oh yeah, so basically once you click on the Warlords map, I will now go over what happens when you click on a Warlord on that map. Yeah, this is just a continuation of the chart from the previous page. Okay. So, moving on. So once you do that, once you click on a warlord on that map, there will be two side tabs, one that looks like a crane and one that looks like a person bowing his or her head. You'll know what I mean if you actually have a match that involves warlords. Just follow along with what I'm saying, and then it explains it perfectly. You can't really properly tell at this point because I'm not actually in the game doing this right now, but you can just refer to it on your own time when you're actually clicking on a warlord right now. Okay, so one that looks like a crane, one that looks like yeah. Let's go over when you click the side tab that looks like a crane, if you already control the warlord. So this tab basically tells you the current amount of diplomacy points, different orders you can issue to this warlord if you control it, of course, and the rank of the warlord. In general, the higher the rank, the more edicts or commands that are available, the better quality those edicts are, and the stronger of a castle that the warlord gets. Now let's talk about what happens when you click on the other side tab, which basically is what you want to click on if you want to take control of the warlord through diplomacy. It basically, what that tab looks like is like that person bowing his or her head right there. So okay, so the first thing that gets displayed is a pie graph. You can actually, that's actually literally what it's going to look like right over here if you want a visual on that. Showing how much influence each player has over the warlord, or in other words, it roughly shows how many diplomacy points that are player invested in that specific warlord. Below the pie graph shows this threshold over here, right below it here. It shows represents how many diplomacy points you would need to invest if you want to take control of the warlord, or in other words, demand obedience. Below that, you will see options that you can use to influence the warlord. You can either do a plus 10 influence, auto influence, which means plus 10 periodically over some time interval, or you can do plus 20 influence for that warlord. Note that if you do plus 10 or plus 20 influence, there will be a cooldown, just like the auto influence. So yeah, let me go on down to page 37 here. Once you reach the influence threshold, you can click the demand obedience button and take control of the warlord. It's important to note that let's say another player is controlling the warlord that you want. You may not have to use force to steal that warlord. You can instead use this influence mechanic if you wanted to. So now let's talk about the second and final way that you can take control of a warlord. It is by force. So this way is about bringing the warlord down to 0 health, and then he decides to work for you. So when he's at 0 health, the warlord will bend the knee, as you can see in this picture right now. And as long as you have only your troops near him, then he will serve you. However, it is extremely important to note that let's say another player kills your troops after you bring the warlord down to 0 health and he's on his knee, and he's bending the knee, as long as only his troops are near the warlord will serve that player instead, so be careful. And he basically stole your warlord away just because his troops were beside the warlord for long enough. So yeah, you don't want to let that happen, guys. Alright, so definitely be careful when you decide to capture a warlord by force, because like I said, if he kills your troops and then now while the warlord's bending the knee, and while the warlord's bending the knee, now his troops are near the warlord, then the warlord will serve him, not you. So yeah, be careful. Alright, so each warlord, let me flip the page first. Each warlord has a perk. You can see what perk a certain warlord possesses by clicking on that warlord on the warlord's map. And you will see the perk at the top near the warlord's icon. If you want to see the specific perk for each type of warlord, then you will need to rewind my video to the part where I show the chart that displays each warlord type, which is that chart over there. Or you could just pause the video right there and seen it. Okay. So, note that once you capture the warlord, you will automatically inherit the associated perk. It is also important to note that if you ever have a match where there are multiple warlords of the same type, warlord perks are able to stack as much as you want. They're able to stack infinitely. So, essentially. So, let's go to the next page. Okay, note that, this section is called Issuing Edicts, which just reminds you what edicts are, which are commands that you can give to a warlord at any time you want, as long as you have enough diplomacy points to do so. Let me see. Okay, so finally, this is the last section about upgrading warlords. Just tells you the highest level you can have for your warlord is rank 6, and if you want to upgrade your warlord, just select the warlord and click the upgrade warlord button right over here. At the top of the edict list, this is where it'll be located, at the top of the edict list. Now we talk about the topic of building a castle. So the third topic. So I'm going to go back to my free build match for this first for a bit. Okay. So for this section, I do not have time to give you my advice on how to build a strong castle and good defenses for yourself, and telling you guys, in my opinion, like the best choices for building a strong castle and good defenses. So instead, I'm just going to briefly tell you what everything does under the Castle Walls tab and the Castle Defense tab. Let me just drink a sip of water. Give me like 5 seconds, guys. Alright, that was good. I got a good water break, because I've been talking for almost 40 minutes now. Alright, so let's first go over stone walls and stone curtain walls right here. So for the stone walls and stone curtain walls both add the same missile range bonus to ranged units, as you can probably tell. An example of ranged units are auxiliary archers, for example. The only difference is that the stone wall is thicker compared to the stone curtain wall. A very important fact is that unlike Stronghold Crusader 2, for example, there is no limit in how thick you can make your walls, as long as you have enough stone to do so. So, allow me to demonstrate this to you, that you can do it as much as you want. So, let me just demonstrate here to you guys. This is 2 layers thick, 3, like 4. You can go on and on and on and on. You can just keep going as much as you want. Alright, you guys get the point. I'm wasting too much stone. Alright, doing that. So, okay. Next, we'll briefly talk about stairs. This just allows your non-mounted troops to be able to access your walls. Now we discuss the small gatehouse and the large gatehouse, as I'm hovering over both of them right now. It obviously allows your units to pass through and does not allow enemy units to pass through. However, the enemy can capture the gatehouse by having enemy units stand on top of it for long enough, which now would cause the gatehouse to let enemy troops in. The large gatehouse has more health than the small gatehouse, however. Let's talk about the bastion. This is a tower, which means it is a place where you can place your ranged units and offers the same bonus as if there were walls. Alright? The thing to note is, however, that this tower allows you to place the most units on it compared to the other towers that I'm going to talk about later in this video. These 3 other types. It's this one, out of all of these 4 towers, this allows you to place the most troops. So that's important to note. Alright, so now let's talk about the small tower. This tower offers the highest missile range bonus, however it has very low health, and it can only house 4 troops, as it says there, 4 troop capacity. Next, medium tower. Let's talk about that. Even though it gives 10% less of a missile range bonus compared to the small tower, it has more health than the small tower and holds more troops, 9 to be exact. Now let's go over the large tower. It's the same as the medium tower, except except it holds more troops, 25 to be exact, and it has even more health. Alright, now let's talk about the water pot. Alright. Water pot. It has 2 workers, and if one of your buildings is on fire, they just go out and put out the fire. It's as simple as that. Now let's talk about the gunpowder stashes. Alright. This deals a high amount of damage to all units when it explodes, and whether the troops that were near that stash were yours or the enemies, the gunpowder stash will deal the same amount of damage either way. So definitely keep your units away from these gunpowder stashes when they explode, because it will hurt them, even though they're your gunpowder stashes. Obviously, when something explodes, it's going to hurt your allies too. It's as simple as that. So be careful. Alright. One of the ways you can cause it to explode is by commanding either one of your auxiliary archers or one of your fire lancers to set it alight. Note that gunpowder stashes are volatile, like it says there, which means that let's say you have 4 gunpowder stashes and one of your gunpowder stashes explodes. That was very close to those 4 stashes. Alright? Because that one stash exploded, as a result, the other 4 will explode. Why is that? You ask. Well, it's because they were close enough to that stash, and all gunpowder stashes are volatile. So, let's talk about gunpowder trails. This also can be set alight by your auxiliary archer or fire lancer, and once it's set alight, it will deal fire damage to any units standing near the ignited trail, including your own units. So be careful about that when you be careful, be cautious about that. Okay, so note that once you set a gunpowder trail alight, it automatically forms a chain reaction, essentially, by setting the other gunpowder trails alight in adjacent tiles as well. And what I mean by tiles, as you can see, this grid-like thing, as you can see these like highlighted white boxes, that's what I mean by a tile. This box is a tile that I have my gunpowder stash trying to place on right now. That's a tile, that's a tile, that's a tile. And yeah, let me pause that again. Okay, good, it's paused. Alright. So, adjacent tiles as well as in the trails have to be right beside each other to continue that chain reaction. Finally, another important thing to note is that this is the second way you can cause your gunpowder stash to explode, which is by setting a gunpowder trail alight first, causing that chain reaction. And as long as you have a gunpowder trail on a tile right beside that gunpowder stash, then the gunpowder trail will cause that gunpowder stash to explode. Now let's talk about the barricade. The only thing that this castle defense object does is that it is a stationary version of a mantlet. This means that as long as you have your units within a certain radius of that barricade, then the barricade automatically absorbs all missile damage directed to those units. The radius is indicated by a circle that you can see after you place down the barricade and click on it. Let me demonstrate. Now what am I doing? Slow. Unpause. Okay. Alright, so as you can see, this white circle represents that radius that I was talking about earlier. Okay. What else is there to talk about? Alright. Let's talk about the hoarding castle defense option. This literally works the exact same as a barricade, except it's placed it's just placed on walls instead of on the ground, which is where you can only place barricades. Okay, now we move on to the tiger cage. The way this works is that you place down the cage, and once you place it, you have 2 options: either to have the cage locked or to have it unlocked. If the cage is locked, the tiger can get out of the cage. If you choose to have the cage unlocked, tiger will get out of the cage if enemies are nearby. Note that once this tiger is released, It will attack anyone around, including your own troops, so be mindful of that. Now let's talk about the arrow. But of course, let's say your units go near the tiger cage. There's no way the tigers are going to get released. It's just the enemy units. So that's important to keep in mind. Alright, moving on. Let's talk about the arrow turret. This is simply a turret with hidden archers that fires arrows at nearby enemies. That's about it. Next, fire arrow platform. This castle defense option fires volleys of fire arrows, as you can tell by the name. The fire arrow platform can fire at enemies automatically without the single push of a button from you. You can also fire at the enemies manually by clicking on the fire arrow platform and then right-clicking where you want the fire arrow platform to fire. The fire arrow platform will then keep firing at the location that you choose until you cancel the action. Alright. So let me actually demonstrate this to you guys for a second. Alright, we need some gunpowder. Let me buy that real quick. Unpause the game. 5. Buy some wood. Okay. No. Perfect. Okay.
Oban, any who approach.
Now let me just show you guys.
Launch the arrows!
Let me just demonstrate it to you guys. So note that this castle defense option is very good against groups of enemy troops. And then of course you can see it's going to keep firing there until you tell them to stop manually by pressing the stop option like so. So now they stopped because I told them to
Fire
using
arrows
the
ready.
Stop command. Even though
Watching
it's,
the battlements.
it's still making it seem like they're still supposed to fire there, I told them to stop, so they will stop. Okay, slow, pause the game. Alright, we're moving on to the next part. So note that this castle defense option is, yeah, it's very good against enemy groups of enemy troops. Now we talk about the mangonel platform. This functions the exact same way as what I just talked about the fire arrow platform does. Note that this castle defense option, however, fires volleys of stone instead and is useful against both enemy troops and enemy buildings. Now we talk about the ballista platform. This functions the exact same way as the fire arrow platform does and the mangonel platform. Note, however, that this castle defense option fires a single ballista shot over a long distance and is very useful against siege weapons. Let me take a quick sip of water, guys. I'm dying here right now. Ah, that is better. Alright. Alright, so. Very delicious water. Alright, so. Alright, moving on. Just kidding, water's not delicious because it has no taste. But okay, moving on. Alright, so. Just try and make a joke, guys. But yeah, this was pretty crap. Just pretend I never said that, right? Okay, so the one important thing that I want you guys to take note of. The one important thing I want you guys to take a note of before I move on to the final section of this guide is the fact that that the fire arrow platform, mangonel platform, and ballista platform cannot harm your units or buildings in any way, so you don't have to worry about if you fire at a spot where your troops happen to be or where your peasants are, let's say. It's not going to hurt them in any way, so you don't need to worry about it. Okay, so now let's move on to the final topic of this guide, which is military. Alright, because this video is already way too long as it is, I'm not going to be going to every single military unit and tell you what each one does, and I'm not going to also give you tips and tricks on how to be the best at this aspect of the game. However, what I will do is this. I will be telling you the things that I feel a beginner should know when it comes to the military aspect of Stronghold Warlords. For this section, I'm going to once again be referring to the Stronghold Warlords manual. So let me open my thing here to the manual, page 18 here, for you, if you guys want to follow along when you guys look at the manual yourselves. Alright. So okay, as you can see at the top of the page, there are 3 types of troops in this game that you have access to. If you categorize each unit based on the building it is associated with. One type is barracks troops, which of course means troops that are trained at a building called the barracks. Another type is military academy troops, which are troops that are trained at a military academy. And the last type is siege weapons, which are created at a siege camp. Okay, so let's talk about an extremely important military building called an armory. The reason why an armory is so important is because without an armory it is impossible to train most troops from the barracks, because those units require weapons and or armor. And the only way you can provide the needed weapons and or armor to recruit those units is to have an armory to store them in the first place. So yeah, the armory is used for storing armor and weapons like we said. Note that technically 2 unit types called a spear tribesman and a blowpipe tribesman are the only units that can be recruited from a barracks without an armory, because they only require gold to recruit. They don't need any weapons or armor to recruit. Okay, so there are 2 ways you can get the weapons or armor. You can either buy it or you can build a workshop. So now you may be asking, is it better to buy the weapons or armor or have them be made by workshops? Well, let me tell you that it depends on the situation. Workshops are quite expensive to build, but are definitely worth the investment late game. Therefore, if you're planning to quickly rush the opponent to win the game very early on, then just buy them. However, if you're planning to crush your enemy later into the game, then you should simply build workshops and have those items made for you, because overall that is the less expensive way to go overall if you're trying to do it in the long run. So before we talk about this chart over here, let me also tell you something else. That once you pay the resources you need to build the workshop, it's not just going to be able to make that weapon or piece of armor for free after that, essentially, because the workshops actually, it's going to cost you actually in a way, because the workshop will constantly need a certain resource from the stockpile. So make a mental note to please place your armory near the stockpile, because the workshops will be accessing the stockpile to get the desired resource that they need to make that weapon or piece of armor. So as you can see, this chart shows the 7 weapon types in the game. It shows the workshop that produces each weapon type. Where am I? Okay, and finally this chart shows the resource from the stockpile that each workshop needs in order to make its corresponding weapon type. So if you want to read the information on this chart, then please pause the video, because I will now be moving on to the next page, because I don't have time to go through this, because it's almost already an hour long into the video. Alright. The rest of this chart, oh yeah, what am I saying? Alright, so this page talks about the barracks. Every troop of the barracks requires gold and a free peasant to recruit no matter what. Besides the tribesmen, each troop also requires a combination of certain weapon types. This chart is just showing you the different troop types that can be recruited at the barracks. The combination weapon types tells you required It also tells you the combination of weapon types in the second column required to be able to recruit each troop type. And finally, the third column is just telling you all the troop types that all troop types require gold to recruit no matter what, because everything, as you can see here, they all cost gold. To be honest, I don't know why they put this chart here. It's kind of dumb because they all share the same thing, but you know, it's good to know that, I guess. So yeah, it is good to know that. So moving on. All right. So if you want to read the chart, like I said, pause the video. And now we'll move on to this page here. So this chart, the rest of the chart just continues on to this page 20 here, as you can see. Because they didn't have enough space to fit the entire chart on the previous page. Also note that the unit called the Imperial Bannerman over here, they just wanted to make a quick note about that here with this asterisk. If you don't see it, it's right here. Basically, it has a passive ability that provides an armor bonus to the nearby units. So that's an important thing to know, because it actually doesn't say that it has that ability here. So that's good to know. Now let's talk about the military academy. Oh yeah, and also the Imperial Cavalry also have a special ability that they can charge enemy units. So that's good to know too. For some reason they didn't write about that, but yeah, the Imperial Cavalry has an ability that can charge enemy units. So that's good to know. Good to note. Let's talk about the military academy now. Just like the barracks, each unit requires gold and a free present to train no matter what. Alright, no matter what. However, unlike the barracks, none of the troops at the military academy require weapons or armor to recruit. Unfortunately, as a result, to balance this, this means that they require a lot more gold to train compared to the barracks overall. Let me tell you, some of them require a lot more gold. So, like the general, for example, he requires like 500, which is a lot of gold, let me tell you. Okay, so like before, if you want to, oh yeah, this chart, I'm going to introduce it here. This chart here, it just shows the specific, it shows each unit type that can be recruited at the military academy and the specific ability that the unit type possesses. I'm ignoring the last two columns because we already talked about it, obviously. So yeah, let's move on to the next page. And like before, if you want to read this whole chart over here, then just pause the video. Now let's move on to talking about the siege camp. The siege camp is used to build siege equipment, which helps you besiege enemy castles. Let me just drink a sip of water here. Ah, that's better. Yeah, that didn't sound funny at all. Yeah, pretend I never made that joke again. That was stupid. Okay, so. Alright. Yeah, my voice is too high. It's too high, guys, sometimes. It actually irritates me. I was trying to have a low voice, but yeah. Okay, so at the top of this page, a very important thing to note is that the only place you can place siege camps is on your territory or the territory of a warlord that you control. Also note that you only need 3 things to build siege equipment: gunpowder, free peasants, and gold. By free peasants, I mean available peasants. Next page. This is just a chart showing all the different types of siege equipment that you can construct at your siege camp. It also tells you what each type of siege equipment does and it also tells you the cost required to build each type of siege equipment, which only includes gold and gunpowder. Technically, they should have included available peasants in the cost column for all types of siege equipment in this chart, but that's okay. Okay, pause the video if you want to look at it. Okay, so you probably know that to select one of your units, you simply left click on it once. Health bar appears over its head and changes depending on how much health it currently has, and for differentiation purposes, if you click on an enemy unit, the health bar will be the color blue, and then if you click on an allied unit, the health bar will be the color white above their head. For explaining the two paragraphs that are below the picture on this page, it is best for me to provide a demonstration here. Okay, let me perform this here. I need just a barracks, I think. Yep. I just need barracks for now.
Taxes are so overrated, aren't they, Highness?
Oh yeah, it's... let me just place some houses down. Yeah, place a fine house, actually. There we go. Fine house. Fine house. Just spam some more rice fields here, so we don't need to worry about food anytime soon in this free build match here.
Our rice stocks are dwindling, Excellency.
Restart if I need to, but yeah. Super fast. Okay. Actually, let me just restart the mission. I actually don't have the funds to do it right now. Yeah, apologies for that, guys.
Greetings, Highness.
Apologies for that.
The Orient awaits you. Place your stockpile, Highness.
Out of gold so fast in this free build match. I don't think they even, at the moment they don't, for some reason they don't. I guess since it's so early into launch, they don't let you actually
Cite your granary, Excellency.
Gold on. They don't let you do invasions at all yet, because I guess it's early and it's early into launch. It's only 1 month into it, so yeah, that's the reason why you aren't able to give yourself gold automatically in this, because this is like Minecraft creative mode. You should be able to give as much gold as you want to yourself if you want, but whatever, it is what it is. Okay, 0. 2 fine houses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Toàn bộ lạc, đứng lên.
Okay, I'll pause the thing for now. Okay, so here I have 5 spear tribesmen and 5 blowpipe tribesmen. If I want to select all 10 units, I can simply hold my left mouse button and drag my mouse all over those units.
Tôi đã sẵn sàng.
Okay. As you can see, a box was created when you do that.
Đội trưởng.
And all units within that green box were selected. Well, actually, it's not a green box.
Tôi đã sẵn sàng.
It's like a white. It looks like a white box with a white outline. You know what I mean? Any units within this box that you make are going to be selected. It's as simple as that. Now let's say that I want to quickly select only the blowpipe tribesmen. I can just double click on one blowpipe tribesman to do so if I want to select all units of that type.
Tôi có thể
So I have, as you can see, I have 5 blowpipe tribesmen, and by just double clicking on him, I automatically selected just all 5 of these blowpipe tribesmen. So that's a nice thing to do. Note, however, that this only selects the units of that type currently visible on your screen. So, and then, so therefore, if there are units of that type currently not visible on your screen, they will not be selected. So allow me to demonstrate. Let me demonstrate
Một
this
ngày
for you
tuyệt vời để
guys.
chiến đấu.
Just move
Di
him over
chuyển
here.
như một con trăng.
Okay, so.
Tôi có thể gain.
Okay, let me pause. Okay, so, as you can see, even though I trained 5 blowpipe tribesmen, only 4 were selected in the end because, like I said before, one of the blowpipe tribesmen is currently not visible on the screen. Then yeah, he was clearly, obviously not on the screen. He was all the way over here, so yeah, that proves that. All right. As you can see, even though I trained, there is one other neat thing that I learned from the manual, but give me 30 seconds to get this demonstration set up. Okay, let me see.
Vũ bảo. Ok.
Okay, so let
Lần
me
theo đường
just
đi, đôi chân của chúng tôi đang di
do
chuyển.
this right now. So yeah, I'm moving them purposely out of the visibility on my screen on purpose here. I'll show you guys why in a second. So, so basically, what I'm gonna do for this demonstration is explain this concept. So let's say I want to select all 10 units using the box method that we talked about before, which is dragging your mouse and making a box to select units. Then I would first need to, if I want to do that, use that method, like we said before, I would need to move the 5 spear tribesmen and the blowpipe tribesmen over here into the visibility on my screen first, and then drag my mouse over all 10 units to select them. Well, let me tell you that you don't have to do that if you don't want to. You can instead use the box method we talked about before. You just have to perform this method 2 times and also hold the shift button down the entire time. Here, allow me to demonstrate. So hold your shift button down.
Kế hoạch của chúng ta ra sao? Dân.
See, all 10 units just got selected by simply doing that. Okay, moving on to the next part here. So, I basically want to now quickly point out another important thing that isn't in the manual, and to be honest, it is very hard to visually see, in my opinion, which is how to disband troops. Just to save time, I'm going to demonstrate. No explanation is needed for this. So I'm just gonna...
Có chuyện gì vậy? Chúng ta nên đi đâu? Đi thôi. Chờ lệnh.
I'm just going to, let me disband, I'm just going to show you how to disband, for example, 3 tribesmen and 2 blowpipe tribesmen as an example. There's no reason why I picked that on my notes. I just decided to because I thought of that. That's the first thing that came into my mind. So let me show you how to disband them real quick.
Xin cứ nói. Bây giờ chúng ta hãy nghỉ ngơi.
As you can see, they're disbanded and become peasants now, because that's what it means to disband in this game.
Nice to have no taxes, Highness.
Soldiers, they're
but a
peasants
gift
instead,
would make things better still.
Ready to be used once more. So, yeah, that is how you do that. What am I going to say now? Now let's talk about the troop selection panel. One monk. What did I pick? There's no particular reason why I decide to do Well, actually, there's kind of a reason why I'm gonna choose like 2 more units here. I'm gonna now select. Sorry, I'm gonna now recruit 1 warrior monk and 1 horse archer. So let me do that real quick.
Chúng tôi nên làm gì?
Master, I will live each step.
Okay, so I need 12 units here for this demonstration.
I am at 1.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let me recruit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Chúng ta nên đi đâu?
Let's do like that.
I am here.
Okay, we have
I
12
am
units.
at
Well,
1.
it doesn't really matter. I don't know why I feel like I have to select 12 units in my thing, but that's just what my notes said. Alright, so... Okay, so now let's talk about the one thing I want to point out now. Oh yeah, so I have to select all the units. So as you can see, at the bottom of my screen next to popularity panel, which is this big rectangular box that's quite wide, which is quite high in width, as you can see. Well, or length. Well, actually, whatever. It's just this rectangular box over here that my mouse is outlining right now is called the troop selection panel. Okay. The one thing I want to point out is that if you want to select one specific one specific unit type from this selection, then simply left click on that unit type. So then deselect okay, so I'll just choose Spear Tribesman for an example, and then then I need to select them again for another demo. So the other thing I want to mention is that if you want to remove a unit type from this selection, then simply right click on that unit type. So see, the Blowpipe Tribesmen are removed from my selection. Now let me quickly teach you how to group units, which is when you select a group of units and assign a number to that group. So with the single push of a button, you can instantly select that assigned group, no problem. So first select the units that you want to be in your group. In this case, I'm just going to choose all 12 of these guys. And hold down the control button and then select the number that you want to assign your group to your group. In this case, I'm just going to choose 2. There we go, I did it. Now let's say I want to select my group now. Simply press the number you assigned to your group, which in my case is 2.
Master,
So
I am at 1.
and then of course now oh yeah, so as you can see,
What are your thoughts?
see
I am at 1.
see, as you can see whether they're visible
I
on my
am
screen
here.
or not. If I
Tôi đã
press
sẵn sàng.
2, they're automatically
My
going to get
mind is
selected, and then
clear.
I can move them wherever I want. Once I, no matter where they are, I can just press that number.
How may I
You can
serve?
select them and then move them wherever you want. Okay, so now let me just move them off on the screen on purpose to show you another demo of something else. So now let me quickly, so let's say I want to select my group now. No, I mean that you not only
We are
want to
almost
select
out of
your
rice,
group.
Highness.
Damn, okay. Let me just, okay. No, they just leave the, okay, never mind. Let's just pretend I'm not doing that right now. Pretend I never did that. That was a waste of time. Sorry. Okay, so let's say I want to select my group now. Not only select the group, but I want to travel to their current location on the map. All you need to do is simply double tap the number you assigned the group.
My mind is
See,
clear.
so it just went to their location instantly. Okay. Now let's quickly go over marching orders. If you wanted them to move to a specific spot, then right click on the spot that you want them to go to.
The spirit is ready.
The next marching order that you probably don't know of is that if you want them to move to a specific spot and then face in a certain direction, once they reach that direction, once they reach that destination, then do the following: hold down the right mouse button. Keep moving, keep holding it down until you have the right orientation that you want for your units, and then once you're happy with it, in this case I'll just be happy with this direction here, this diagonal, this direction here, in this case for me, I'm happy with, and once you're happy with it, then release the right mouse button. So
As you wish.
as you can see, once they get to the assigned spot, all units will orient that specific way because I commanded them to. Alright, paused. Now let's move on to the next part of this guide here. We're going to go down to page 24. Now this point is just saying that if you want to place your units, if you want to place your units on top of defensive structures like walls or towers, for example, we're talking about this part over here. I already went through everything before. If you want to do that, make sure that there are stairs placed, or else your units will not be able to access them. Page 25. If you want your units to attack an enemy unit, then simply select your units and then right click on that unit that you wish to attack. Of course, when you right click on the enemy unit, you will see that a sword icon appears like so. Looks just like that. If the sword icon looks like the one on that picture that I just hovered over before, then the unit or units you selected will attack that enemy unit. However, if the sword icon is tinted red, then your units will not attack that enemy unit because it cannot be attacked. A common reason why that is, why the enemy unit can't be attacked, is that there's no way for your selected units to reach that enemy unit. For this part of the manual that says horse archers will continue on their current path if ordered to attack a unit within range, I just want you guys to ignore that part, because I was testing to see if it works, and for me it wasn't working, so I then discussed it actually with a Firefly Studios employee. You might know him, Firefly Nick, and he confirmed that it was a mistake in the manual and it needs to be updated, so don't worry about that. Alright, let's now talk about the attack move command. By default, for all units except horse archers, whenever you move troops to a location, they will not attack troops while they are moving to that destination. You can do, if you want your units to attack enemy units in range while they are moving to their destination, however, you can perform this thing called an attack move command. This is performed by selecting your units, and then while holding down the control button, right click on the destination you want your units to go. Alright, this attacking walls and buildings section over here, it's just talking about the different ways you can go about dealing with enemy walls. You can destroy them using siege weapons such as catapults, trebuchets, mortars, and rocket launchers. Another way is that you can just use laddermen who place ladders to dock against enemy walls, or have siege towers dock against enemy walls, which allows your troops to get on top of enemy walls. Another way is that you can which allows your troops to get on top of enemy walls. All you have to do is select the ladderman or siege tower, and then simply right click where you want the ladder siege tower to be placed. This section also talks about the fact that you can command your military units to destroy the enemy's building, wall, tower, or gatehouse. Of course, there are some units that cannot do this, of course, like horse archers, for example. To get your units to attack one of these structures, simply select your units and then hover your mouse over the structure you want them to destroy. Once a pickaxe icon appears, right click, and then the units will destroy the structures using pickaxes. If the pickaxe icon is tinted red, then that means that the structure cannot be destroyed. Now on to page 26. We're almost done, guys. Don't worry about it. Alright, another important tip is that the only unit that can climb onto walls without needing stairs, a ladder, or a siege tower is a unit called the ninja. So the next point is talking about the fact that normally an enemy gatehouse will not let your troops through because to them you are the enemy, of course. So they're not going to let you through, of course, unless you capture that enemy gatehouse. To capture an enemy gatehouse, simply put your units on top of the that gatehouse for a long enough period of time with no enemy troops present. So literally, just get your troops somewhere basically on this location where this blue tribesman is standing. Get your units on top of that enemy gatehouse where that guy's standing, and you'll capture no problem as long as it's for a long enough period of time and there are no enemy troops present. Okay, now we move on to so basically once the gatehouse is captured, you can move your troops through no problem. Ninjas are of course the best for this because they can just stealthily capture the gatehouse without anyone noticing because they're invisible to enemies unless they are in close proximity to them. Also, they are the best for this because, like we said before, they can climb the enemy walls without needing a ladder, stairs, or siege tower. Okay, so now we talk about rally points. By default, the troops that you recruit deploy just outside the building where they were recruited. Let me go into the game again to show you how to select rally points. So the first thing you want to do is left click on the building that you want to set a rally point for. In this case, I will set a rally point for the barracks. Let's put it on slow for now. Okay. Now right click on the rally. Now click on the rally point icon that looks like a flag. Finally, right click on the location where you want to place your rally point. I'll just place it here. Here we go. Now that I did this, all troops that I recruited at the barracks will automatically from now on deploy at this location from now on. So now let's say I want to place a rally point for a specific unit. To do so, first right click on the troop icon corresponding to the specific unit that you want to set a rally point for. In this case, I'll do for the Spear Tribesman. Now once again, right click on the location that you want to place this rally point. Okay, let's just place it here. Okay. Now, now let me recruit a Spear Tribesman and show you what happens. Alright, so as you can see, the Spear Tribesman goes to the rally point that only applies for its unit type, which is Spear Tribesman. Therefore, in this case, all Spear Tribesmen will automatically go to the rally point. They'll always go to the rally point. That applies to only Spear Tribesmen and all other troops trained at the barracks. In this case, so this is for this case, of course, that I made. And all other troops at the barracks, trained at the barracks, will go to the other rally point. So let's say I recruit a Blowpipe Tribesman. He's not going to go over here because that's just for Spear Tribesmen. He'll go over here, this rally point to this rally point over here. Yeah, he didn't go exactly right on to that point, but close enough, man. Okay, so alright. Okay, now we talk about unit stances. Oh yeah. Let me actually need to what's it called? I need to leave this here. Okay, we scroll down to the next page, and now we talk about unit stances. Unit stances are basically default behaviors you can set for your units that tell your units what to do in response to enemy units automatically without you commanding them manually. So let's go over that. For when you set your units to the aggressive stance over here, basically what the aggro range is the largest compared to all other stances. Let me now explain what the phrase aggro range actually means. Let's say you have a spear tribesman unit set to aggressive stance, and there is an enemy unit decently close to your spear tribesman unit. If the enemy unit is within a certain radius, or in other words within the aggro range of your spear tribesman, then the spear tribesman will move to the enemy unit and simply attack it. Units' aggressive stance will not only attack enemy units that are within a certain radius, but they'll also keep chasing them down if they run away until they're dead, and keep trying to attack them until they're dead, of course. However, they would probably stop chasing the enemy unit if it gets far enough away, though, where it starts going out of its aggro range. Even though aggressive stance, it has a large aggro range, but it's not infinite, so it'll probably stop chasing eventually if it gets out of that aggressive stance radius, aggro range radius for aggressive stance. Okay. So after the enemy unit's dead, your unit will not return to its original position from before. It will just stay at the spot where it killed that enemy unit. Finally, if your units that are in aggressive stance get attacked by enemy ranged units like auxiliary archers, for example, your units will try to kill those enemy units that were shooting at them. Defensive stance is a smaller aggro range compared to the aggressive stance, so enemies have to come closer to those units set to defensive stance before those units decide to engage those enemy units. They are more likely they have to come closer. Enemies have to come closer to those units set to defensive stance before those units decide to engage those enemy units. They are also more likely to stop chasing enemy units compared to the aggressive stance because their aggro range is reduced. Also, let me get a drink of water, guys. I'm dying. My voice is dying. Give me a sec. Damn, my voice is out and my vocal cords are dying. But don't worry, guys, we're almost there. It's almost an hour and a half of me talking, but alright. Okay, so also note that there are no more enemy units to engage, or in other words, once there are no more enemy units within their aggro range, units that are set to defensive stance will return to their original position. The stand ground stance has the smallest aggro range compared to the other stances in this game. Units set to this stance will only attack an enemy unit if it is within range to attack without needing to move any further to do so. For example, for a melee unit set to this stance, that melee unit will only attack an enemy unit if it is literally standing right next to it. For a ranged unit, however, it will only attack the enemy unit if it is within shooting distance. Note that all ranged units are always in the stand ground stance. They can never have their stance changed to an aggressive or defensive stance. Okay, so that's important to note. I repeat, all ranged units will always be set to stand ground stance, and you cannot change that. So now on to unit formations. These are just formations that you can set for your units. By default, units are set to no formation. Also note that unit formations and unit stances can both be found in the troop selection panel. Let me just quickly show you guys to remind you. As you can see, we have unit stances here, we have unit formations here. Just wanted to show you guys that. So, to be honest, I'd say even if you have no formation set for all of your units, which is this, if you this is, which is this formation type right here, which is, of course, you would probably be fine. So therefore, if you want to learn about other stances, just pause the video. And also note that by default, your units will just naturally be set to no formation. So yeah. Let's move on here. Okay. Oh yeah, I can highlight and draw on here, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. About doing that. Alright, let's move on. Now on to... Yeah, so now let's talk about unit commands. We're very close, guys. We're very close to the end of this video, so just be patient with me here. So let's talk about unit commands, which are found at the bottom. Let's talk about unit selection commands, which are found in the troop selection panel as well. These are the 3 unit commands. That's where you can find it in the troop selection panel as well, like I just demonstrated. And so let's first talk about the stop unit command. The stop unit command simply cancels the current command for the selected unit or units. For example, if you told some of your units to move to a specific location, if you press the stop unit command, those units would simply stop moving because you canceled the command. The attack here command is designed to have your ranged units. I said that correctly, okay. And siege weapons to fire at a specific area. Units that are given the attack here command will keep firing at that specific area until you tell them to literally stop. For example, auxiliary archers that are given the attack here command will continue to fire volleys of arrows. There we go. I'm losing my words are not coming out anymore properly, but I will keep trying. At a specific area until they are told to stop. Another example is that if mortars are given the attack here command, it will keep firing a cannonball at that specific area until they are told to stop, and the cannonballs roll for a certain distance, by the way, after it lands on that specific area that you told them to fire at. A third example is that catapults given the attack here command will keep firing rocks at that specific area until they are told to stop. The patrol command tells a unit or multiple units to patrol between 2 points. To perform the patrol command, first move the unit or units to the location where you want the patrol to start. Then click on the patrol command button, and then finally right click on the location where you want the patrol to end. So the units will then keep moving between those 2 points until you tell them to stop. The unpack trebuchet command is used to either unpack the trebuchet or pack the trebuchet. It's used to either unpack the trebuchet so it can fire and attack, or to pack the trebuchet so it can move. There, I said it the right way this time. This chart is just telling you the different trebuchet ammo types, as you can see. Okay, that is what it is telling you. It's also telling you what each ammo type does. So it tells you each ammo type. So that's this column I explained here. It also tells you what each ammo type does, which is for this column over here. And finally, it tells you the general relative cooldown type of each ammo type. So this column over here is that's saying. Okay, so if you want to read the info on this chart, like I said, then please pause the video, because the video is way too long as it is for me to go through every single thing in the chart. The last paragraph. The last paragraph. Okay, just talks about the fact that if hurling diseased animals creates disease clouds, so if you hurl diseased animals at the enemy, disease will spread among the enemy's population. disrupting your opponent's economy. However, the herbalist is a good counter against diseased animals. It's a good counter. Because right when a disease outbreak occurs, the herbalist will start working to cure the disease. Alright, guys. Alright, guys, so that is it for this guide. Actually, that's probably not a good idea. Let me actually just open a free build match, because I don't really, the music's actually, I can just turn off the music at this point. Let me just do that before I do my outro here. Okay. Alright guys, so that is it for this guide. I hope you guys enjoyed. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please smash the like button below, and also please share it with your friends if they are as well trying to learn how to play this game for the first time. If you have any questions or comments about this video, man, my voice is dying. Okay, then please leave it in the comment section below. Finally, if you want to see more Stronghold Warlords guides and gameplay videos from me in the future, as it is now my primary game, then please subscribe at the bottom left-hand corner over here. It should be somewhere over here by now. And click on the bell so you guys get notified when I release more Stronghold Warlords content in the future. I'm StrategyIsDestiny, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.